The emotional cycles that silently hold you back at work. All right, we all have emotional cycles. They're happening constantly. They are the things that help us make choices, right? Everything that we do goes through this emotional cycle filter. And if you don't know enough about it, then that emotional cycle could really be driving the boat when it comes to all of your professional decisions. And that can become a really big problem because now we're no longer aligning our decisions with our goals, with where we want to go with our career. And these impulsive decisions end up driving our career in a direction that we don't necessarily want it to go. I'm Jade, by the way, if you haven't met me yet, and I'm a rational emotive behavioral techniques coach and consultant. And I focus on facilitating emotional intelligence for workplaces and professional individuals. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about the thing that's quietly undermining even the most capable professionals. And I'm sure you can think of them right now. Have you ever interacted with somebody who you would deem as a professional, who they themselves also identify as a professional, and yet, for whatever reason, every once in a while they do something that seems a little offside, a little bit out of character, or really not in alignment with what your company's goals are or even their own? Well, that is an emotional cycle driving the boat, getting in the way of that professional who is very capable the majority of the time or some of the time, right? Now, when we don't understand the emotional cycle that we're consistently moving through, then we lack the awareness to make a change. Okay. So if you identify yourself as a professional, you might be going through your day and you're ticking off all the boxes on your to-do list and you're getting things done and you're leading meetings and you're very result driven. And yet you still feel like at the end of the day that you're stuck on something, that your energy is completely drained, or that you're constantly being misunderstood in the workplace. So it's really easy for us as professionals to just chalk this up to something like stress, right? I mean, there's a lot of that going around, is there not? Or maybe it's just the nature of the job that you do. Maybe you know it has a really high burnout rate because it asks a lot of you on a regular basis. But what if it's not just this external pressure that's causing this? What if it's this unseen emotional pattern that's really running the show and causing you to feel this way? So, there is a hidden problem. And the hidden problem is that you're reacting and you're not responding. Okay. So when you're aware of your emotional cycle, your emotions, or sorry, if you're unaware of it, your emotions are going to manage you instead of the other way around. And this becomes a problem, right? Here are some ways that it might play out, or some examples of ways you might feel if your emotions are running your decisions. So you snap at a colleague and then regret it later. I know that that's happened for many of us. I've managed in multiple industries for years. That is a very common occurrence. You overextend yourself to please others and then feel burnt out. Leaders, managers, supervisors, does that sound familiar at all? You avoid feedback because it feels like personal criticism. Anybody ever get really nervous when it's time to go in and talk about your job performance with your manager and you just don't want to do it? And then there's you hold back in meetings and even when you have something of value to say. So your entire workplace, your colleagues, they miss out on this value that you have to add. Does any of this sound familiar? Have you ever seen this in somebody else or experienced it yourself? Well, this is an emotional cycle, okay? And it's getting in the way of what you want your career to be like. It's this ongoing cycle that we get into of an emotional reaction We have discomfort, we suppress it, and then we repeat it. And it can really sabotage your confidence, your relationships, your professional ones, and even your career progress. And the hardest part is that most people don't even realize it's happening. Again, because we might mislabel this as stress, right? Or it's just the nature of the beast. So, why this matters in the workplace and understanding these emotional cycles? Well, at work, everything is filtered through emotion. Believe it or not, even the people who pride themselves on not being emotional, every choice they make is run through emotions, right? Because emotions are our filters for decision making. There are filters for communication. There are filters for leadership, teamwork, and performance. Emotions are the filters that our decisions go through and then give us the behavioral response that we have. So if you don't understand how your own emotional landscape works, then you can't fully show up for your team. You can't reach your goals that you've been trying to attain, and you can't really show up for yourself either. So, emotional blind spots is what I like to call them. They can be things like be misread as a lack of confidence or leadership. It could be that it leads to unnecessary conflict or miscommunications and create disengagement in both you and those around you. So you can see here from these experiences that it is vital we learn everything we can about emotional cycles so we can start making them work for us versus against us. So, what is the solution to these emotional cycles and these roller coasters that we're riding and we're unaware of? Well, it's really awareness that's going to break this cycle. And what I do with professionals is I help them learn how to move from this emotional reactivity state into a more emotionally intelligent state using a 4-step framework, which is self awareness, where we start to really understand our own emotional triggers in the professional setting and we recognize how our behaviors then influence our environment. We do a lot of self management and regulation as step number 2. And this really helps you shift from that reacting without intent to responding with intent by managing your emotions in real time when it's happening, right? And not having to just um, fix the downfall after everything's played out. Number 3 is we work on social awareness. So, tuning into the emotional experiences of others and really getting a better understanding of their behavior and where it comes from. Because, just a hint, it's not about you. And then number 4 is relationship management. So we end up using all of this emotional insight that we've developed to start to really build trust, resolve conflicts, or even prevent them before they start because we are able to see that happening and then create constructive, really high impact professional relationships at work. And that's how we get to where we want to be in our career, right? Now, without this process, without learning how these emotional cycles impact you at work, you're going to stay in those reactive loops and you're going to keep doing them until you become aware of those patterns. It's going to keep on happening. You're going to find the same issue comes up again and again and again. It might be with a different person, it might be in a slight variation of a scenario, and you're going to sit there wondering what went wrong. Well, when we understand these emotional cycles, that's when you're going to gain clarity. You're going to gain control and be empowered in those moments. And in turn, that's going to boost your confidence as a professional. So, you want to really ask yourself when you are at work, when you are in these scenarios, am I responding with intent or am I just surviving? right? Do you truly understand your emotional patterns at work? Or are you just navigating around them and hoping for the best? Okay. So when you understand your emotional cycle, it's not just about your own personal growth, but it's really the key to becoming a very powerful professional and somebody who really thrives in the workplace and enjoys it, not somebody who's burnt out, stressed out, hating their job, job hopping. Breaking this cycle is a huge, huge benefit to you. And I highly recommend that you learn as much as you can when it comes to these cycles so that you can stop hoping and start knowing the direction that all of your responses and all of your decision making is going to take you.